And good morning, everybody. Welcome, Hot Takes, Goodman and Haertl. How are you this morning, my friend?
I am well on a Thursday. Looking forward to a big game tonight in the NFL on a little Thursday night football. Yeah, that's exciting. We get the Nuggets back at it today against Orlando, Avs tomorrow. So headed towards, and then Saturday is going to be the most insane football watching day of the year. You've got all the games starting now with the college football playoff. You're going to have two games in the National Football League, and good games amongst them, the Packers and the Bears.
Yep.
So it's going to be a tremendous weekend, and we get the start of it tonight. So I'm looking forward to it.
Well, everything that you just mentioned, I will be able to watch because Madison and Mandy are going to be hanging out all day, leaving me at home with nothing to do.
Oh, well, you'll just have to figure something out then.
I might have to turn on the TV, get some crazy glue, put it on my ass, and sit on the sofa. How's that sound?
I don't think you'll need the crazy glue, but that's okay. Good.
Yes. Hey, real quick, want to tell you about Roller Auction, the leader in Colorado auctions for over 45 years. Roller Auction has over 150 auctions per year for either vehicles, business liquidations, police seizures, tools, and construction equipment, and more than that even. Plus, all their auctions are done online, so you don't have to even leave your own home. To learn more, go to rollerauction.com. Again, that's rollerauction.com. Get what you want at the price you want today at Roller Auction. Time now for the lead.
The lead is presented by Smokin' Dave's Barbecue. It is not just the best barbecue in town, it is one of the best restaurants in town. You can find Smokin' Dave's Barbecue off 36th and Pecos.
News on the injury report. Pat Bryant, RJ Harvey, both full go at practice yesterday. Is there any way, Bruce, to overstate the importance of Harvey in the lineup more than likely on Sunday? And for that matter, when you look at the running back room, is that the biggest position group of concern specifically if Harvey goes down?
Oh yeah, without question.
Yeah.
You're talking about, if you didn't have RJ Harvey, you're talking about having your two answers at running back. Not there, and you're mixing and matching as best you can, and that would be a challenge even for Sean Payton. So, it was great to see RJ Harvey. That was the first number I looked for yesterday when we went inside. Interestingly, we went inside on what was arguably the nicest day. I realized it was wind Armageddon everywhere else along the Front Range, but we didn't have that down in Dove Valley. It was an absolutely beautiful, sun-drenched, warm day, and there they were working out inside. But RJ Harvey there, good to see Pat Bryant back at work. For this time of the season, and I know they just lost Brandon Jones. We talked about it yesterday. The Broncos remain, knock on wood, in pretty good physical shape, all things considered.
Let's dig a little bit deeper into Bryant, more than likely returning to the field on Sunday. I think it is fair to say that Bryant, you can make the argument when you look at production, time on the field, balls thrown his way. Bryant, you can make the case, has become the number 2 wideout. He has taken snaps from Troy Franklin. With that, who do you think gets more action? Who do you think is on the field more on Sunday? Is it Bryant or Franklin?
Well, I think it'll be.
And by the way, Franklin coming off a really good game against the Packers.
Yeah. I push back on I think Troy Franklin is the number 2. I don't disagree with your statement that you can make an argument for Pat Bryant. And in fact, in terms of targets, the last 3 games that each one of them have played, Pat Bryant actually has more targets. Now, the production that Troy Franklin continues to have has been good. But against man-to-man, I'm thinking that we'll probably see a lot of Troy Franklin, and there's going to be a lot of man-to-man for Jacksonville. But that's all part of the game plan and how it unfolds. The fact that Bo Nix threw 4 touchdowns to 4 different players last weekend against Green Bay indicates to me that Sean Payton is going to try to move things around, and I think he likes if you talk in terms of concern for the running back room, it's totally the opposite for the receiving core. The receiving core is diverse, fruitful. You've got small, fast guys. You've got big, rangy, tough guys. You've got high point guys. You've got straight line guys. You've got route runners. It's a very underrated room for that football team.
With that, I was in the locker room yesterday. You and I were both out there. I had a chance to catch up with Troy Franklin. What has the difference been maybe over the last 3 weeks with the offense, quarters 1 through 3, where you guys are now scoring?
I just think we use a little more tempo, and we're really into our details and getting to our spots. I think we're good with just how the games are unfolding, just making the plays, and just going out there executing what's called.
I know you don't have any control over the play calling, but would you like to go tempo more often too? And how much does it help the offense when you do go more tempo?
I think it helps the offense a lot. We'll get like a pretty simple coverage. We won't get anything exotic. And, me personally, I've done it in college, so it's not a problem with me.
What did you know about Bo in college that it took a while for everyone in this building to eventually figure out?
Just pretty much, basically, when he got drafted, they were saying he wasn't worth the pick being 12, and he is. That's basically what I got to say about that. Most def.
So when you got picked, you're like, dude, this is my guy, right?
Hell yeah. I mean, obviously I thought I should have went a little earlier and stuff, but I honestly thought I landed in the best situation I could have been in. So most definitely.
I know you guys don't care what people say nationally about this team. They talk a lot about the defense, and rightfully so. But as an offense, do you feel, hey, we can carry our weight as well?
Yeah, most definitely. In the beginning, I think at the start of the season, we were kind of shooting ourselves in the foot, early downs with, just getting behind the sticks and stuff like that. But, it's a long season, get it fixed. And, I think when we're not behind the sticks and we're flowing, you guys see what happens, and we're moving the ball pretty efficiently and smooth down the field. So most definitely. What has
Cortland meant as a veteran in the locker room? Because you have so many young guys in that room.
Mm-hmm. He's meant a lot. I lean on Cortland for a lot. He's like the safety blanket for us. If anybody is, in a gray area about anything, we can lean on Court, and we love Cortland for that. And just like this past weekend, man, when we needed a go-to play, we went to Court and he got it done. And you can't really, ask him to do too much more than that. And he's a big part of this offense and this team for sure.
All right, let's talk about what's most important. You're sitting next to Coop, went to Ohio State. I went to Indiana. You went to Oregon. I won't talk about our game earlier this year at Oregon. So with the two of you sitting next to each other, Oregon plays Ohio State. What happens?
I know. So, look.
Be honest.
I will.
Well, why don't you start, Coop?
Yeah, go ahead.
What do you want me to say, man? We the best.
You didn't beat Indiana.
I mean, we got bigger things we try and focus on.
It all circles. It all goes in a circle, man.
We won a lot of Big Ten championships.
We beat Indiana. Now we just got to see.
No, you didn't. You didn't beat Indiana this year. We're undefeated.
We didn't. We did not.
Right now?
We did it.
Y'all capping right
It's
now?
okay. They won on some fluke stuff. But look, what really matters is what's about to come up now, and that's the college football playoffs. So
that's what I'm saying.
We got JMU first. We'll run them off. We will run JMU off, and then I don't know who's all in our bracket. I'm not, hip with that, but I promise you, we will get back to the natty, and I think the Oregon Ducks will get their first natty this year.
No, I'm out of here.
And that will be coupled with the Broncos Super Bowl.
Oh yeah, for sure. We're gonna do it all.
Good stuff.
Yeah. Well, they were sitting next to each other.
Yeah.
I know Coop was listening in, so I'm like, well, I'll bring in Coop. Listen, Coop and I have talked a lot about Ohio State football, and he knows that I went to Indiana.
Right.
And as I saw him in the locker room for the first time yesterday, I'm like, pretty good Ohio State Indiana game. And he looks at me and goes, it's all about the national championship. I said,
Yeah, well, I mean, I hear you. Although you would have heard a mouthful if Ohio State had beaten Indiana. So it's it's a convenient thing now for these Ohio State guys. It's all about the national championship. Oregon guys, it's all about the national championship. Okay, great. I mean, yeah. And they're right. They do get the second chance, but Indiana's the team Indiana's the team that I got belief in, and Indiana's the team that if I had to bet on, I'd bet on Indiana right now. I really would. So
well, you know what? When Indiana does play on New Year's in the Rose Bowl, you will have some stuff to wear.
I will bring my bling that a good friend of mine got me sometime next week. Before the Indiana game, so everyone can gaze upon it and be very envious of me. And by the way, I never thought that I could possibly look good in red. Turns out I was wrong.
you look fantastic in red. When you were over at the house on Saturday and you put on that red hat, I'm thinking with the IU logo, Indiana on the front, I'm like, that's a good-looking man right there.
It made me immediately smarter. I was very thankful for it on so many levels.
Okay, with that, let's get back to the Broncos. Considering Nick specifically and the offense in general has been considerably better over the last 3 weeks, do you believe this is what we should expect now moving forward, or is this just 3 very good offensive games strung together?
No, and I'll add one more. I think you can go all the way back to Kansas City. I thought their offense really functioned well against the Chiefs. So I would even extend it to 4. The thing that I like about what we've seen is they've played differently against different defenses. They have done a very good job taking what the defense gives them, which is the main tenet of a lot of offenses.
Well, not to cut you off, you couldn't have had 2 more different game plans, Raiders to Packers.
Absolutely. And that's that's kind of what I'm talking about. Not kind of, I guess it's directly what I'm talking about. When they knew that they could line up and do what they did against the Raiders, and there was confidence in it, and they proved it, and they won in a very comfortable fashion. Technically, it was a 1-score game, but that was not a 1-score game.
Correct.
That was a blowout. And then against the Packers, playing with pace, understanding where they were, the type of pace that they knew at some point would catch up with the Packers, and finally, about in the fourth quarter, it was pretty clear that it was. Those are all, we talked about this yesterday in the subtlety of coaching in the NFL and the need for adjustments. They don't always have to be, wrenching the wrist type of changes. I'm talking about sometimes they're just subtle changes, and you understand who you're playing against, what they try to take away, what you can take away from them, and you devise a great plan. They played at a higher rate in the game against the Packers, and it served them extremely well. But they've been doing that nicely now. They've been playing. For instance, Bo Nix. Go back and see how many times Bo Nix is playing behind center now. Right. The number of times he's taking snaps from center as opposed to, playing it in the shotgun, the pistol, whatever the case may be. They're working a lot more out of the center snap, and they're working play action off of that, and that's creating opportunities for them. They're moving it around with the receiving core, and they're getting good, not great, but they're getting good contributions in the running game. All of those things are making them a better offense.
All right. I want to address something that I read yesterday. There's a computer that's used by CBS Sports, and that computer suggests the Broncos are the favorites to win the Super Bowl. Here's why, and this is what was written. The Broncos have a 15% chance of winning the Super Bowl, which is the highest number in the AFC by far. No other team is above 9%. It is also slightly ahead of the Seahawks at 14%, the Rams at 13% for the highest number in the NFL. Both those teams play tonight. We'll get into that a little bit later on in the podcast. One reason the computer likes the Broncos so much is they are in total control of the top seed. The Broncos can clinch the top seed just by going 2-1 in their final 3 games, regardless of what happens in any other game. Are you buying what this computer is selling, saying the Broncos are the favorites to win the Super Bowl?
Well, yeah, but they're 15% favorites to win the Super Bowl. So someone's got to be the favorite. I guess if you crunch the numbers, I'll buy the whole home field advantage thing, because I do think home field advantage is more significant in Denver than it is in other places. I do believe in altitude. I do believe altitude is much more difficult to play in than it is at sea level. And I do think that the Broncos have good mojo right now. I mean, you know, there's something real scientific. I'll invoke their mojo, but they've got great confidence playing at home. And I think that I think Mile High Magic is a real thing. I think I think the fan base here, I've said this before, I will say it again, and I will always defend them long after I have departed from them. I think it's an educated fan base that does what they need to do for their team. I think they get it. And it's not just a little social Sunday affair. Oh, isn't it cute? We're at the football game. They're into it to win it. And they do whatever they need to do to help their team win it. And I think that that's a commendable thing, and it's a real thing. So, yeah, I get it. I mean, I understand it. And they are the most logical choice to come out of the AFC. You've got 2 teams in the NFC that, well, we're going to see them tonight.
Right.
You could pick one, make an argument for them, and they could play 10 times and maybe split 5 games. Maybe the thought in the AFC is the Broncos with home field advantage are the pretty good bet against any other team in the AFC.
And I want to piggyback on that just for a minute. If the NFC was already decided for the home field advantage, let's just say it was the Rams or the Seahawks, the computer model would have them.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I would say so. And that's based on. I mean, we're getting into, you know, the weirdness of numbers and metrics and all of those things. But yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, I would say that right now. Well, let's just call it what it is. I think right now on a neutral field, which it would be in Santa Clara, I think either one of those teams from the NFC would be slight favorites over the Broncos.
All right. We will eventually have this conversation after the first of the year if the Broncos do not win the Super Bowl. So the question is, what would be defined as a successful season?
They're already there.
Okay. So wait a minute. Broncos get to the playoffs, get the number 1 seed, losing the opening round at home. Do you believe universally people will say that was a successful season?
No, because you base it on where they are in the moment. To this point, it is already.
Of course it is, but eventually your season is going to end. Well, the question is always, when your team loses, was it a successful season? So do they need to make it to the Super Bowl to have a successful season? Make it to the AFC Championship game to make it a successful season? If they get a first-round bye, they've already bypassed the wild card round. Yeah,
there's a lot of ifs. But I would say if they reach the AFC Championship, it is a wildly successful season, regardless of the outcome. There would be disappointment in a loss, but this franchise and this team is a year and change ahead of schedule.
Ahead of schedule. I agree.
Ahead
So
of schedule.
let's say, for the sake of argument, the Broncos get the number 1 seed. Buffalo comes to town. And it's the same exact outcome, played the same exact way. Buffalo blows the Broncos' doors off in the division playoffs. You're going to sit here and tell me it was a successful season?
Yeah. I mean, I'll say that it's a success.
You'll be on your own island, and I'm not saying I wouldn't agree with you.
I'm not going to say that
I might be on the island with you.
It wouldn't be a successful ending to that season, but if you win the division, if you win the AFC, and if you're the top seed in the AFC, yes, the measure for the margin for error becomes much thinner with every game that you play. But if you're going to be defined by one game, I mean, I always get back to the Buffalo Bills and the 4 straight Super Bowls, and I get it. And I feel the pain for my friends and brethren in Buffalo. And you were one of them at that time. But the fact of the matter is you still got to be good enough to do it. And I realize that there's a thin margin for error for how you define things in the aftermath of a disappointing loss.
Yeah.
But at some point, you've got to be able to say, this is when you get there, the way that you get there is important and it's meaningful because you build upon that. And to me, that's pretty damn successful. If you're a 15-2 football team, and you win a playoff game, and I just don't know how you could possibly define it, even in what would be a just awful way to finish the season. The season in and of itself would be because they've laid the foundation.
Hold on, let me give you an apples to apples here.
Sure.
All right. So the Broncos are 12-2 right now.
Yeah.
Let's say they finish with a 14-3 record.
Okay.
And they lose in the opening round, like we just talked about. Let's go back in time to 1996.
Okay.
The Broncos were 13-3.
Right.
Lost to Jacksonville at home in their opening game. That was not considered a successful season at all.
What had the Broncos done a couple of years before that?
This year?
No, in 96.
What did they do in 95 and 94?
Yeah.
They went through a coaching change.
Yeah.
Why did they go through a coaching change? They weren't reaching their potential.
Yeah.
So my point is that could be an apples to apples potential. Obviously, there's an extra game, now as opposed to back then.
Yeah.
The record will almost be identical. And actually, while it was a wildly successful season in terms of regular season record, it was a really, really good team that wound up losing. I don't think any player on that team will say that was a successful season. They were the number 1 seed.
It depends on your definition of what successful is. If you're going to live on that kind of line of whether or not you were successful in the moment, in a championship moment,
isn't that what it's about?
It is what it's about. But you're pinning yourself into a corner by saying you got to have that moment for a season to be successful, and I disagree with it. That's my opinion and my opinion only.
Isn't it about winning in the playoffs?
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, because the Broncos have now hit the point, playoffs 2 years in a row, that making the playoffs is expected.
Yeah, but the estimations change, don't they? Before the season, I had the Broncos at 11 wins and 1 playoff win, and that was my level of success. Okay. That was so now all of a sudden, I'm going to move the goalpost so dramatically and say that it's not successful.
Right.
If you're 16-2 and playing in the AFC Championship and somehow you don't get it done, that's not a successful season. I guess at the end of the day, if you're going to live and die on that one result, okay, I would listen to that. I think the things that you do for your franchise are, in terms of moving it forward are myriad.
Just so you know, the Broncos' record over the last 2 years was better than the 94-95 team.
There you go.
7-9, 8-8. What were the expectations when they went 13-3? I'm sure they were thrilled to be in the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
Number 1 seed, upset by Jacksonville at home. Now, if we're talking about you only, that's fine.
Yeah.
But the general public, and including everybody in that building, would not look at that as a successful season. Now, they lost to Jacksonville, mind you.
Right.
A team that nobody thought was going to come in here and win. You know, we'll see. And we'll see how the game unfolds. But this team is only talking Super Bowl. This isn't last year where making the playoffs was great. They expect to win the Super Bowl this year. And their regular season record now.
But it's not all or nothing. I mean, you and I are going to disagree on this. You think it's all or nothing, and that's fine. That's
fine. Actually, I don't.
Yeah,
I am more on your side on this.
Okay.
Because this has been a remarkable, memorable season in which this team has grown. But you are remembered by what happens in your last game. And specifically, if you lose a game you were expected to win.
Yes, I would agree.
No one really expected them to go to Buffalo and win last year.
But here is also, I think, a truism. This franchise has risen in a meteoric fashion in the 3 years that Sean Payton has been here. They've gotten better every year.
Yep.
And we're playing a lot of ifs here. If they're in the Super Bowl or are winning Super Bowls in the next 2 or 3 years, it changes what the look of this season was, because it's the next logical step for them to be taking in order to get to a Super Bowl, if you want to look at it that way. I would say that it would be hard for me now in any shape or form, short of a total collapse here at the end of the season. Like they lose 2 of the next 3 games and play horribly while doing it, and then lose a game in the first round of the playoffs. That would be, we could revisit the conversation at that
Okay,
point.
let me ask you. Let's say they lose 2 of their next 3 and lose in the opening round. Yeah? That's scenario 1. How about they win their final 3 games? They're 15-2, and then they lose their opening round game. That would be more painful.
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah, level of pain is not part of the conversation here. The pain is real regardless, because you're right. This is a team in a Super Bowl window. They have smashed it open and gone through. And so the expectations now are totally different than they were even, 9 weeks ago. And good for them. They have done this on their own. All for one, one for all. And they've done it. But they've done some unbelievably good things that will serve them well as they continue to move forward as a franchise in this season.
Well, you know what served them well following that loss? Weight room the next day.
Yeah, right.
They were so bent out of shape losing that game. Ask any player who played on that team.
Yeah.
They were tunnel visioned the next day. Ironically, lost to Jacksonville. They played Jacksonville on Sunday. I don't think Jacksonville, though, will be the first team coming to Denver if indeed the Broncos get the number 1 seed.
Yeah.
They'll be higher, more than likely higher ranked than that, but I suppose we will see.
Yeah, absolutely. It is interesting, though, that Jacksonville that this could be we talked about a Super Bowl preview last week, right?
Yeah.
Well, this could be an AFC Championship preview. It's a very real possibility.
Yep.
Jacksonville is a good team playing well. Trevor Lawrence has been at his absolute best, insanely good over his last 3 games. His last 4 games, he's thrown 3 games, he's thrown 9 touchdown passes to no interceptions. He was very average through most of the season, but he's been anything but average over the last 3 weeks. And Jacksonville is great defensively before they are good offensively.
So Jacksonville could be a preview, the game on Sunday against the Jaguars, could be a preview of the AFC Championship game. Tonight could be a preview of the NFC Championship game. Who will win tonight? We'll tell you definitively. Take out a mortgage, a second mortgage on it, because Bruce, when it comes to gambling, nobody narrows it down better for you than Jacob Haertl. Not Bruce Haertl, Jacob Haertl. When I give you his God-given name, take that to the bank. That's it.
Ferguson's Heating and Cooling is the best in Denver, and their customers agree. Ferguson's has 165 5-star Google reviews, and here's one from Betsy. Highly professional, prompt, and honest. I switched to Ferguson's when I became aware my former company was trying to sell me a whole new system I didn't need. Ferguson's is an honest, working, family-owned business that'll give you a fair price, the highest quality parts and equipment, and they always show up on time. You can trust the Ferguson family like you trust your own family. Go to fergusonsheatingandcooling.com.
Everyone has their favorite sports bar. Mine, the Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch, DTC, and now in Parker. All their locations are everything a sports bar should be. An upscale menu with 12 different burgers, outstanding wings, and my favorite, the Philly cheesesteak egg rolls. They've got every game on the NFL Sunday Ticket, MLB Extra Innings, NHL Center Ice, NBA League Pass, plus soccer, rugby, and UFC. Sportsbook, great hangout bar, great for private parties. The Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch, DTC, and now in Parker. They are the sports bar.
Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos in Blackhawk have another incredible promotion. They'll be giving away a Ford Maverick Tremor truck or over $25,000 in cash the weekend of January 9th. Daily cash drawings are every 45 minutes between 10 a.m. and midnight. Players can earn daily entries with every locked-up jackpot or by redeeming players' points on their players' cards. Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos, loose slots, great promotions, delicious food, and a family-owned casino that treats you like family.
Everyone has their favorite barbecue spot. Mine, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew. My favorites, slowly smoked ribs, smoked corned beef Reuben, smoked meatloaf with a portobello balsamic cream sauce. Don't forget about Smokin' Dave's 16-hour smoked brisket and pork with one of their 4 homemade barbecue sauces. Great sides, you bet. Barbecue beans made with pork and brisket and their southern corn bake. Man, you got to try it. Plus, they have amazing non-barbecue entrees on the menu. Go where I go, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew in North Denver. And welcome back. Hot Takes, Goodman and Haertl want to continue with Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew. Christmas is coming up. If you don't want to do the cooking, let Smokin' Dave's do the cooking for you. Highly recommend this particular thing off the menu that's going to cover it for everybody. The Big Kahuna Belly Buster. It is under $100. Full slab of ribs, an entire chicken, half pound of pulled pork, half pound of beef brisket, 4 large sides, 6 pieces of cornbread, up to 5 to 7 people. If you're going to have more than that, fine. Do it twice. 12 people, under $200. Are you going to be able to cook a Christmas dinner for under $200 that is that good? Probably not. I cannot say enough good things about Smokin' Dave's. To me, it's the best barbecue spot in town, but it is also, I believe, one of the best menus in town, one of the best restaurants in town, because they serve barbecue, but they do it in such a creative way that you're like, wow, this is so different than any other barbecue spot I have been to. Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew. You can find them off of 36th and Pecos. Time now for What's Trending.
What's trending on Hot Takes with Goodman and Haertl? Brought to you by Mile High Sports.
Rams against the Seahawks tonight, the top 2 teams in the NFC. Who do you like in this game?
I like Seattle at home in this game.
And you just said it, at home in this game.
Yeah, at home in this game. And, and it might be totally different. It probably would be if the game was in SoFi, although there is no comparison for home field advantage between Seattle and LA. That's another discussion. The injury to Devontae Adams, I think, has me spooked a little bit. The hamstring, he's doubtful for tonight. They're playing on a short week after a very emotional come from behind win. Seattle didn't, necessarily blow the doors off either, but I like them playing at home. And I think that Sam Darnold has been, for all the talk of Matt Stafford, Sam Darnold has been a bad dude this year. He has been so good for Seattle. The main difference, I think, for me for Seattle. And so I think it's going to be a very competitive game. I expect it to be. I do think that this is a really strong potential NFC championship preview without question.
Yeah.
Because I do think that these are the two best teams in the NFC. And but I'm going to give Seattle the edge at home.
Who is the better matchup for the Broncos if it comes down to the Broncos playing one of these teams in the Super Bowl?
That's a great question. A great question.
To me, it's an easy answer. I'd rather play the Seahawks.
The
for
Seahawks.
this reason alone. For
Right.
this reason alone. The Broncos secondary is terrific.
Mm-hmm.
But they will have to contend with Nakua and Devontae Adams. And Devontae Adams at times has had his way with Pat Surtain.
Yeah.
Now, Devontae Adams isn't what he was a couple of years ago. He's not being used in the same way.
Right.
Who's covering Nakua? And then you have a pretty good running game, and then you arguably have the best quarterback in the league.
Yeah.
And you have McVay, who is one of the top 3 or 4 coaches in this league right now, who we talk about Sean Payton being a brilliant offensive mind. Well, Sean McVay is the same level of offensive mind, who also happens to have a photographic memory and can tell you plays from 15 years ago.
Yeah, right. And they're both really good. Usually defensively, they're both really good football teams.
They're excellent. Numbers-wise, stats-wise, they are right there with the Broncos. But there is a difference, and this is what I wanted to lead into. When you look at yards given up per game, points given up per game, the Broncos, the Seahawks, and the Rams are all in the same category, elite. What defense would you rather have stepping on the field for you? A team that generates tons of pressure on the quarterback and sacks the quarterback, or the defense that forces a ton of turnovers, which is something the Rams and the Seahawks both do. Yeah. You have to pick one. Is it the one that gets consistent pressure or the one that forces a ton of turnovers? Well, because the Broncos don't force a ton of turnovers.
Yeah, but one would argue that you hope consistent pressure leads to turnovers. Now, they did get 2 against the Packers, but to your point, you're right. This is not a takeaway group.
They've gotten to the same point. They have just gotten there differently.
Yeah. Yeah.
So which defense would you rather have? The one that's opportunistic and forces turnovers to win games and set up their offense, or would you rather have the one that gets constant pressure on the quarterback and most of the time gets to the quarterback?
Well, in one game, if I'm guaranteed turnovers, you take turnovers.
You're not guaranteed anything. You're guaranteed what you know walking in the door. One team is great at forcing turnovers. The other team is great at getting to the quarterback. Which defense would you rather have?
I'll take the pressure. I will take the pressure because the pressure can be every play. If you're not guaranteed takeaways, if you're telling me that I know a defense is going to get 2 takeaways a game, I'm betting on a really good defense. Period. If I know that in advance, then yeah, because the statistics, the metrics that sometimes we berate will tell you when you turn other teams over, you win football games. Period.
On the surface, I totally agree with you. But digging deep, forcing turnovers means you don't scheme turnovers.
No,
they happen because the other team makes mistakes.
Right.
I'll take the team that gets pressure on the quarterback and gets to the quarterback because that is something you can scheme. That is something that is in your control. Stripping a running back of the ball, you don't scheme that.
No.
You practice that, but it doesn't mean it's going to happen.
Yeah.
As far as interceptions go, yeah, you can get pressure on a quarterback, and he might be pressured into throwing an interception. I get that. But that's one or two steps down the ladder. You can't guarantee turnovers in a game.
No.
But with the Broncos defense the way they are,
Yeah.
they get to everybody because they can scheme it that way.
Yeah.
Well, look at the difference between the first half and the second half.
Oh my God!
Against the Packers.
Yeah, absolutely.
They couldn't get near for the most part Jordan Love, but in the second half they did because they switched up to more zone.
And it's a cumulative effect, and we talk about this. Right. We talk about offensively the cumulative effect of a running game. The pound, and eventually the dam breaks. Well, it's the same thing defensively with pressure on the quarterback. The Broncos have consistently been not just the sack leaders in the National Football League, but the quarterback pressure leaders in the National Football League. They are the most pressure defense in all of the NFL, and that has a cumulative effect, and it does. You love the term that that fatigue makes cowards of us all.
Yeah.
It doesn't make you a coward necessarily in a football game, but it wears the hell out of you, and all of a sudden you start to see ghosts. You start to hear footsteps. Those are cumulative effects of pressure on a quarterback.
That's going to do it for us. Hot Takes with Goodman and Haertl. Make it the best possible day you can.